been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.
I could take Tylenol for my headache while pregnant.
With Tylenol, don't take it. Don't take
I've got 2 tickets to
Everything is earned in this life, baby, nothing given. Heard you cut your bestie off.
About
I wouldn't listen to these women's advice. I don't know if you guys can tell by the looks of these women, but you can tell who their children are likely by. These are not conservative women who are worried about having families. There is no husband, there is no father. There's just them and their thoughts. We know what stereotypically what type of background of the type of men they will choose to have children with. The nerve of these women to come on the internet and literally want to go against the one president and the one Health and Human Services person we've ever had in history that have finally came out and gave us an answer to the question we have been asking for 100 years. What is causing autism? Now, autism 100 years ago was not the same definition of autism today. Back then, they were diagnosing kids that had different types of mental disorders. And one of the likely concepts was autism, but it was new. What we know about autism today is typically caused from brain swelling. We know that the brain becomes swollen. One reason is when metals are introduced to the bloodstream of babies. Your body is not able to process the metals, so they accumulate. What that does is it causes swelling in the brains of male children. That's why you see the victims are most of the time the boys. There's something about estrogen in girls that block the effects of the injections. However, testosterone, for some reason, amplifies them. The reason I always say I don't even know if vaccines exist is because personally, not me, not you, not anyone has ever been allowed to individually test the ingredients prior to injecting them into a brand new baby, a 6-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old, or a 50-year-old. None of us have ever been able to independently verify the ingredients to confirm that it actually does what it's intended to do and that what's actually in the injections is what they say. At this point, you have to just take the word of a well-known repeat offender felon. Pfizer is a felon. Moderna are felons. AstraZeneca, felons. I specifically started off with Pfizer first because they have been charged with over 30 felonies. But you guys love bringing up Trump's felonies, which is hilarious. They have paid out over 100 billion, not just in fines, but in settlements. And you have the nerve to come on the internet to defend felons who you're taking medical advice from, but not from the men who have the literal data that they had to force away from the CDC because it's been hidden. The reason that data has been hidden is because Big Pharma pumps hundreds of billions of dollars into mass media, but also into the pockets of these institutions that are in charge of doing the research, doing the reports. Their funding completely depends on Big Pharma, which it actually reminds me of back when they were discovering that Dr. Fauci and the NHS literally fund all of the different schools of medicine. And if a school of medicine contradicted Fauci or they had a different finding, well, you would lose funding. So you're basically a paid propaganda arm of whichever administration is in charge. The thing is, Fauci transcended all of the administrations. The same guy was in power. He gave you no information. We have a new person in charge now, a new administration, who have actually been trying to find ways to help you. We have generations of children that are fucked mentally. Not only are they autistic, a lot of them are gay, which is another disorder. It was actually a mental disorder until recently in history. They're not, one of the biggest parts of being a human is having the ability to function in society. You have social skills. These autistic children are being born, but they're socially awkward and are not able to adapt, and they're not able to speak or deal with people to socialize with them. So they become ostracized, which is actually, if you look at the correlation between the autistic population in schools and the rise in kids who identify as gay or transgender, they correlate. There's no one who's gay or transgender that's a Republican for the most part. There's some outliers who are against the whole pedophile agenda. And if they have to choose whether they're going to be a Republican or a Democrat, they're really choosing between, am I a pedophile or am I not a pedophile? Everybody doesn't want to be a pedophile. They're not pedophiles. So they'll become Republicans. But for the most part, they're going to be on the left. These injections are why you could be a conservative, a married person with your wife, but your child, your son, is going to want to grow up to be a gay, trans Democrat. The injections they're giving these kids are scrambling their brains. They mess with your hormones. And the worst part is no one's actually giving any suggestions on what's causing this. Luckily, we have a president that's helping us. Now, your kids are already cooked. There's going to be a new generation of children that will be safe. The women that just made these videos, their children are going to have problems. That's unfortunate. But going forward, there will be changes that will be made. This is why.
Don't take Tylenol. Don't take it. If you just can't, it's fight like hell not to take it.
There's a strong response this morning from major medical groups that are taking issue with the White House's announcement tying autism to women using Tylenol during pregnancy.
And by the way, I want to say a big fuck you to every single medical institute that took issue with what Trump said. Remember, these are the same medical institutes that told you if you join an experiment, if you donate your body to science while you're still alive, you will not catch what they were trying to tell you you were going to be protected from. They lied to you, and they knew they were lying. They knew it. But they also gave you something to get away from having to give you informed consent by saying, hey, this is experimental. When you signed off before you took it, we can't give you informed consent because we don't have all the data. They informed you that they didn't have the information, and you still went through with it. These are also the same medical institutions that are now saying men can give birth to children. These medical institutions are paid to say whatever they're told to say. Fuck every single one of them. Remember, that's how I wanted to preface it before we continue.
First, effective immediately, the FDA will be notifying physicians that the use of let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen. Is that okay? Which is basically commonly known as Tylenol during pregnancy, can be associated with a very increased risk of autism. So taking Tylenol is not good.
President Trump's messaging came with his health secretary, RFK Jr., by his side, who has long shared provably wrong theories about what causes autism.
They are strong.
Provably wrong theories. If you can't tell me what does cause autism, then how in the hell can you tell me what doesn't? If you don't know what causes it, how can you tell me what does not cause it? The simple answer is you cannot. You can't. Good Morning America is who this is by. The reason I use some of these channels, knowing that they're spewing lies and propaganda, is because I want to show you how there is a left wing bias. The people that are paying Good Morning America and these other channels and these other news agencies is Big Pharma. Big Pharma is a car mechanic for humans. Let me ask you a question. If there was a liquid you could put into your car and it would never break down again, would your car mechanic be happy or would they be sad? Your car mechanic would be upset because you would no longer need them. It's in your car mechanic's best interest that your car breaks down. The same is for the medical industry, pharmaceutical industry, doctors, etc. Do you think they are rich off of healthy people or are they rich off of sick people? Do you think they want to do things that are going to increase and give you better health? Or do they want you to constantly need to return to them for more and more assistance or guidance or medication, drugs? Do you know how much they're paid in kickbacks every time they prescribe to you something that they're not even sure if you need or not? There's an incentive per product that they are paid if they get someone to take it. Do you know how many doctors have been convicted of referring patients to chemotherapy that didn't have cancer? Do you know how easy it is to be grateful that the chemotherapy worked to treat something that you never had in the first place? When I speak on these channels, I try to tell people to question everything. You have to. They lie. For money, they will lie. Everyone will lie. People have bills. People have children. People have student loans. You become a doctor, you're broke. You don't all of a sudden just pop up doing surgeries or telling no. It takes time to build a practice. You need money interim. Bills pile up. Big Pharma structures the entire medical industry a certain way. They know who's going to play ball and they know who's going to be a good money maker, and they turn you into one. Before the lockdowns and the scamdemic, people were getting healthier. People were doing yoga. People were drinking juice. People were getting away from seed oils. Less and less, it was becoming a part of American culture to get away from pharmaceutical and to start dealing more holistically. That's why 2021 they had to wrangle you back in. The Surgeon General of Florida right now is a man named Joseph Ladapo. I remember he was a part of a group called the Frontline Doctors of America. They literally went in front of Congress, I believe, on the steps in DC. And they literally begged and pleaded with the American people to not fall for this medical misinformation and the propaganda. What they're telling you they're going to be administering in a few months, you don't need. Actually, there is a treatment for what you're experiencing, but what you're experiencing is not a sickness that's going around where you cough on someone's hand and then you touch them and you touch a steering wheel and it's sucked in by an air conditioner and spread throughout your house. So you got to wear a mask. It's not that. There's something else going on. Whatever it is happening, there are current treatments that can assist it. You don't need to jump the gun with something else. People fought with them because people want their drugs that they don't need. People have a problem. The people are drug addicts. I don't mind that. What I do mind is when people are voluntarily administering harmful drugs to children, whether they're born or unborn. That's my problem. That's where I take issue with this. As an adult, if you want to go and buy 30 bottles of tequila right now and literally drink yourself to psoriasis and die, that's your business. You're an adult. Who am I? I'm just but a low-level podcaster on, in my house talking to a camera with a screen in front of me and a microphone. I'm nobody. I don't own you. You're an adult. It's just that I have to live in a world that you're not going to live in, but your kids will. And you're going to be expecting me and my tax money, being a person who works of sound mind and body, to support these children of yours who cannot function in society due to mental conditions caused by your poor parenting. It literally comes back to me. I have to be on the road driving with your children. I have to send my kids to school with your unstable children, with their proclivities, their issues. Now my society is reflecting that of a mental institution, because apparently diagnosing mental illness is also called racist if the people you're diagnosing are Black. A lot of these issues specifically affect Black kids. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says the entire vaccine schedule is an attack on Black boys due to their elevated testosterone levels. All injections, he say, all vaccines affect them differently. There is a 400% higher chances of autism in a Black boy than a boys of any other racial background if you're taking the MMR vaccine. Then you wonder why these boys are teenagers going crazy, bad tempers, mood swings. You think your son is 18 years old, but he reads at a third grade level because he's just a bad kid? Or is it that he can't read at a higher level because there's something wrong with him? The embarrassment parents feel, especially these mothers, because they know what they were doing. Yes, if you were drinking, you were smoking, but there are other things you didn't realize, you didn't know. You know how many women medicate every day with ibuprofen, with Tylenol, with different types of painkillers to numb themselves? They're pregnant taking these pills because their Big Pharma, who sells them, are paying institutions and media companies to tell you that they're safe. But every year there is a recall, and Big Pharma is sued for lying to the public, and they have to settle for billions. But guess what? If the product makes 50 billion, but there's a $10 billion settlement, it's still a $40 billion profit, which equals it was worth it. An experiment on you where the results are going to be mixed, it was worth it because it basically met a financial obligation for investors and for their board. Now, I'm a capitalist. I do believe in business. And Big Pharma was able to swindle you into becoming a customer for life by giving you an injection you didn't need for something that had, say, a 99.966 recovery rate, then so be it. The problem I have, again, is when you're forcing your kids to become experiments as well by giving them these drugs, but also by taking them while you're pregnant. I do hope this rings in the ears of conservatives. Our children will be safe. Liberal and Democrat children, if they have any, from these marginalized communities, their kids are in trouble. The only issue is until we're able to figure out a way to separate from them, we're literally sharing spaces with maniacs, psychopaths, and monsters waiting to explode. I say this with the utmost disrespect. Am I the only person who's ever met these people? Am I the only person that's ever lived around them? Or do you work your fucking ass off so you don't have to live nowhere near them? But I'm the bad guy, right? Because I'll talk about it, I'll mention it. See, that's the problem. You're not supposed to talk. They want to silence everyone because words can help foment ideas and thoughts. You can be inspired. You can change someone that you've never met if they can just hear your words. I understand that. I understand why they want to halter my speech. I get it. But should that deter me from saying it? You think fear is going to stop me from saying what's right? And I'm not necessarily giving my own opinion. This is an opinion that is shared by specialists, not the specialists that are paid to say it. All of these people including our president, could take money from pharma. I'm sure that at a certain point in the future, I'll get an offer from a pharmaceutical company. And because I kind of despise some of you people, I might take it, put on some Jordans and a starter jacket and be like, yo, 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 take these drugs and take a check. I know who that's going to appeal to. And if the goal is to make these people as sick and mentally fucked up as possible for generations to come, I'll be honest with you, I really don't even see the point of not. The president and RFK Jr. are trying to save people. These same people are now trolling them on the internet for trying to help them. The first people to ever come out and tell us what's one thing causing autism. I'm reading this other, look at this other idiot. Let me show you what this other guy put on the interwebs. And this is why I question everything. Let's see, her Instagram is in, they're giving me the biz right now. Oh, this, what in the world is wrong? Sorry, this page is broken and has been removed. So I can't even see my own page, but I'm literally on my own page. Jesus Christ. Okay, let's see here. How do I find me? Safe and effective. That's the name of the Instagram Safe and Effective Pod. Look how look how shadow banned I am. Look how hard it is for me to even find my own page. Ridiculous. And my page apparently has been nuked from orbit. Trump says autism rates lower amongst groups avoiding vaccines and pills. And he is absolutely correct. See, I can sit up here and talk for hours about complex topics. I have a range, but it's because I'm not on the spectrum. Being on the spectrum means at a certain point, it becomes painful to think. I know this because I grew up around kids that everyone assumed were what we called crack babies, but they were vax babies. Yes, your mother was a drug addict and partied when you were in her stomach, but nothing is going to hit like a direct injection to your bloodstream, to your veins directly. Taking pills orally is one thing, but when you're giving injections to women and then they're giving them to their kids and it's going directly into their bloodstream, it's completely different. Apparently, there are ingredients inside of Tylenol. Look at this. This is a good meme. Apparently, there are ingredients inside Tylenol which can actually pass through the barrier in a woman's body during pregnancy, her placentia, and actually be absorbed into the child. So, and what's absorbing into the child, apparently they've discovered. This was information that was really hidden from the public that is now being discovered by the current administration and the people in charge. And even that causes brain swelling. So people are saying, oh, well, how do you know, this? Well, what you're trying to say this causes autism. And the thing is, no one said this is the only thing causing it. So these are people saying autism was first identified in 1911. Tylenol wasn't introduced until 1950. Whoop-de-fucking-do. That does not mean that this does not also cause autism and brain swelling. There are multiple causes. This is just one of them. And also, it was not first discovered. It was not identified in 1911. In 1911, we barely even had medical institutions. They were still doing bloodletting in 1911, where they put leeches on your body to suck out sickness that is in your blood. And they take the leeches. They were still doing bloodletting in a lot of places in the country in 1911. In 1950, doctors were still prescribing cigarettes to pregnant women to smoke. You cannot talk to me in 2025 about years in our history where doctors were proven to be paid for pay. They pay for, what's it called? Pay for play. You can't trust these institutions. Now, do I trust surgeons? Sometimes. If I had a broken bone and I had to set it, would I let the cashier from Sri Lanka do it at 7-Eleven? No, I would go to a hospital. But even when you look into what 96% of medical research is, it's all fake. It's all theoretical. It's theoretical. This might work. It's medical practice, and we're practicing on you. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., they're not telling you to go take something. They're telling you not to take something. And you want to argue with them. You are your own worst enemy. You cannot get out of your own way. That's why the best thing will be to separate and ignore. When they hurt themselves, we do not support them. This is exactly why I don't believe in universal health care. I would never support universal health care because of this.
Tylenol for my headache while pregnant.
With Tylenol, don't take it. Don't
I've got 2 tickets to
Everything is earned in this life, baby, nothing given. Heard you cut your bestie off.
About to take Tylenol for my headache while pregnant.
This is a double edged. Actually, this is a. Let's be honest here. There are liberal women in the United States tonight that are going to drink alcohol. They're going to take 12 Tylenol to spite Trump, and they're going to probably do it with friends. Let me tell you this. Once they take that 13th Tylenol pill, they'll never have to worry about a headache for the rest of their life. They'll never have another headache again. They won't have any aches again. That is going to happen tonight, tomorrow night. For going forward, there are people who are going to overdose. If you checked right now the poison hotline numbers, ever since Trump said this about Tylenol, if you check the poison hotline, how many people have accidentally, on purpose, overdosed on Tylenol and acetaminophen, you are going to realize that some people are just idiot NPCs. They're hollow shells. They're not really there. They were already likely autistic to begin with. And that's why they would literally cut off their nose to spite their face. They will overdose themselves, pass away, just to show Trump that he was wrong about how deadly this is. And I'm not Charlie Kirk. I love the guy and I admired him. I'm not Charlie Kirk. I want you to do it. I will let you do it. If you promise me you'll take 14, I'm sure we could crowdfund buying up as much Tylenol as we can to give it out to you guys, and we would administer it. And what we would do is this: we would rent out space behind abandoned Jiffy Lubes and a burnt down Wendy's, the same way they did when they were giving out the vaccines in the drive-thrus. Except we'll just give you 14 Tylenol and we'll say, prove Trump wrong on the sign. And we'll wear masks and scrubs, just like the people that were giving out those injections, right? And we'll hand you a bag with 14, but you got to take it in front of us so we can make sure that Trump gets the fucking message. I'd say I'd crowdfund it. And we'd help these liberals prove Trump wrong. Individually, one at a time. Again, I'm not Kirk. I'm not as tolerant, and I don't necessarily think that we keep having to, it's our responsibility to keep trying to save you people. If every single day there's a guy on a bridge and we have to call the police and the fire department to go stop him from committing suicide, after about 2 years, because eventually you're going to lock him up, he's going to get out because he didn't hurt anybody, he's trying to hurt himself. He's going to go back to that bridge. At what point do we finally say, you know what, fuck it, jump? That's where we are as a society right now with the black community, the gay community, and obviously the what we call it the black army is really just a combination of the black and the gay community. If you look at the people that laughed at Kirk, they're black or they're gay or they're both. If you see somebody who's white who's laughing at Kirk, they're gay. The other guy who you thought was a normal person, you found he's a pedophile, but he liked little girls. He's still a pedophile. They're all the pedophile community is marginalized according to the black army, the black community as well, the gay community, the trans community. They all feel they're oppressed by laws. They feel laws go against them. When you target children, you're breaking the law. When you're shoplifting or stealing, you're breaking the law. These communities, if you literally just listen to what they say and talk to them, they'll tell you laws are racist because they affect us more than others because we're always the ones caught doing it. That's why they support the Democrat. The Democrats made a deal with the devil. For black people, they promised to change the definition of crime so they wouldn't be convicted or they wouldn't be arrested for certain crimes. They did that in California. You could shoplift all you wanted if you supported Newsom, and he would basically make it so that you could walk out of stores with enough merchandise as long as it's under $1,000. What kind of shit is that? I want to live in a world that if you steal a pack of gum, you are arrested. I want to live in civilized society. In California, they made a deal with the gays for support for the Democrat Party, where we would decriminalize pedophilia. If you're a gay man and if the kid says he's gay too, then if you get caught with them, you're not going to have to register as a sex offender. There's a senator, Wiener. I bullshit you not. His last name's Wiener. He said that the laws currently on the books for statutory rape and for crimes against children, they are disproportionately affecting the gay community. So what did they do? They decriminalized it to gain the support of that community. That was heading east until Kirk and Trump put a stop to it by just talking. Just talking. Do you know how many of us were not aware of what was happening? There's so much we just don't know because no one tells us. Remember, we are humans, a society. We're supposed to speak to each other. That's how we pass information along. But in this age of information, we're more disconnected than ever. I'm going to do so many videos now that YouTube can't necessarily block me for talking about these topics anymore. They can't block me for talking about politics anymore. Oh, what a beautiful day. And I don't know if you guys can tell, but I like to talk. I do. I can't necessarily hear myself talk, and I'll be honest with you, I don't watch my own content. I just kind of put it out there. I share it. I let people get in there. I will get into arguments, and I will go back and forth with you on the debate. If you call me out, I'm going to show up. I don't feel any of my stances are wrong. I just feel that it's what you would call unpopular speech. But my speech is the speech that needs to be protected, the speech that certain people are going to find abhorrent. The speech, everybody, if I came on here and said, oh man, all these people are queens and kings and they own the world, and you know what? Maybe we should decriminalize pedophilia. That way the assassination attempts to stop. I got on here and said that everybody will love me. Blacks, gays, pedophile, the whole black army. They're trying to call it like some kind of trans militia. No. We already have the term. It's called the black army. The way you spell black is with a B and an L-A-Q. So we're already combined the black and the LGBTQ. We've already combined it. We already came up with a brand. If that was what I talked about, if that's what I said, bro, everybody would love the fuck out of Rico. But it's my speech that people don't like because people don't like the truth. This is not my truth. This is literally unobjective reality. It's not me that people have an issue with, it's with reality. And they want to reshape reality so they feel better about what they're doing to others or what someone did to them. Unfortunately, that's just not going to fly with me. Remember, I eventually have to have children in this world. These issues weren't around when I was a kid. I would like for them not to be an issue for my kids. So that's why I'm here. The problem is your kids that you've destroyed mentally are going to be riding on buses with my kids, and I have to literally tell my kids to watch out for them. But what Trump is telling us is that the kids who are taking these are kids that belong to liberals. Liberals don't really have kids. Conservatives do, and we don't take all these drugs. Therefore, we can just keep our kids around each other and we'll stay safe. The problem is, as of today, it's really hard to separate based on superficial features. I do see a future where that will be overturned. I'll be honest, I think the whole 1964 Civil Rights Act should be abolished. Forcing someone to accommodate you is basically DEI, which we've already done away with. I should not be forced to work with people that I don't want to work with. If I use my discernment and pattern recognition and I say to myself, certain race people are bad drivers, historically, from my own opinion, from what I've seen, I want to have the right to decline a certain driver. If I can choose my driver, I don't want them to send a random driver. I want to be able to choose my driver. I want to be able to choose my clients. I want to be able to choose the people that I live next to. I want to be able to be in control over who is around me for safety purposes. I feel like the Civil Rights Act, from what I can tell, it kind of forces people into spaces and it makes it a penalty for you to deny dealing with certain people. How is that not stepping on my rights of free will and my constitutional protections as well? You're forcing me to coexist with people that I want to avoid. Right now, they're trying to use it, bullshit you not. They're trying to say, well, you should accept me as a pedophile. And actually, my sexuality as a map is a minor attracted person. It's discrimination because you won't accept my sexuality. Actually, you're actually being a bigot because you're calling my sexuality a crime. Because I like children in a sexual way, that's a crime, but it should be affirmed. That's the problem with the 1964 Civil Rights Act. That's how far it goes. I'm sure the people who authored it thought this was just going to be a black and white issue, but apparently they did not have something called foresight. If you would have just looked ahead, you would have seen eventually where this would go. I'm literally, this is why, like, again, I can't support universal health care because people purposely will poison themselves and then come back and beg conservatives to use our tax dollars to help support taking care of them. Fuck that. Fuck you. You want to poison yourself? You do it on your own dime. That's not our responsibility.
With Tylenol, don't take it. Don't.
I've got 2 tickets to
Everything.
You're a fool if you think these women are going to stop with just 3 or 4 pills. Again, once you're at your, 13 Tylenols, you're not going to have any more headaches. If you think they're going to just stop taking that, they're going to stop at 11 and be responsible. Oh no. To them, this is lemon drops. This is candy to them now. You guys just, bro, I'll be honest. Some of these problems, they solve themselves. You know how they say we could vaccinate our way out of certain issues? This is an issue right here that would literally take care of itself. Trump, I appreciate what you did. That's why I always do these shows wearing a MAGA hat. This is a good reason why.
Recommending that women limit Tylenol use during pregnancy unless medically necessary. That's, for instance, in cases of extremely high fever, that you feel you can't tough it out, you can't do it. I guess there's that. It's a small number of cases, I think.
This morning, major medical organizations are
I know women that pop these all day, every day, and they're not necessarily in some real pain. Now, I've seen people that, you have a toothache or you have something wrong, or if you do have constant headaches, but this is not a cure. You're supposed to take this so that you can be comfortable enough until you can get to a specialist where you can get help, or at least they can try to diagnose what's wrong with you. You're not supposed to keep taking painkillers. The pain is still there. They're just turning off the sensor so that you don't feel it. But whatever is wrong, it's still wrong. This is not supposed to be you're not supposed to, this is a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. You're supposed to go find out what shot you, how to pull it out, sterilize it, clean the bullet wound. You're not supposed to just put a Band-Aid on it. This is a Band-Aid to begin with. But there are people who just like taking drugs. Then they wonder, well, my kid didn't take all the drugs, but lady, you took them for the kid. And that's who they're really talking to about this.
Disagreeing with the president, saying that acetaminophen is safe for pregnant women and that the drug is important because untreated fevers can end pregnancy.
Now, if we take a look, if we do a screenshot of every single one of these companies, they all are pretty much completely funded by Big Pharma. Actually, little do you guys know, every medical school, they're all funded by Big Pharma. Actually, the entire medical curriculum is all pharmaceuticals. There is no holistic treatment. There is no looking for a cure. Everything is prescription and basically medical, basically basing everything off of medicating someone for something. It's not about fixing the problem, it's about medicating you to keep you as a customer indefinitely. So of course, all the people that are on this group, just like the big cancer, there's going to be people there's going to be 20 of these organizations that are all going to say, oh, that's not how you treat cancer. If you guys know so much, right? Why are you still doing cancer treatment fundraisers every year for the past 120 years? You mean to tell me there's no cancer breakthroughs? There's no new treatment? Do you know chemotherapy is from the 1800s? So you mean to tell me, right? Billions, screwed up dollars. How many miles have been walked for cancer research? We're going to walk for research today. Remember what was it, purple ribbons or some shit? All those miles you walked, and you still have fucking cancer that you're being treated with chemotherapy. You're still dealing with, so basically zero progress. But you want to tell me what doesn't cause cancer, but you can't tell me what does. You want to tell me what doesn't cause autism, but you can't tell me what does. Go to hell. See, that's why people like me shouldn't be in charge. I talk direct. I'm not your friend. I'm not your buddy. If anything, I'm here to protect certain people. I'm not necessarily here to get along with them. Even people who I want to save, even people who I don't want to make their kids sick, are not necessarily people I want to go sit down and have a beer with. For one thing, I don't drink beer. It tastes like piss the last time I take. The last time I drank a beer was a Corona. I had to put grenadine in it. Then I had to put lime and salt. I don't like the way it tastes. So I wouldn't go have a beer with one of these people anyway, but I still don't want them to hurt their kids. Unbelievable, the nerve of these fucking morons that want to sit up here and argue with literally the people that are finally giving you a different answer. Instead of you saying thank you, you're like, let me go and literally overdose on
baby, nothing given. Heard you cut your bestie off.
About to take Tylenol for my headache while pregnant.
a literal wildebeest tells you to go out and Sabretooth's daughter from from fucking X-Men. And that's who you want to bro, I'll be honest, these jokes write themselves.
The makers of Tylenol say that sound science clearly shows that taking acetaminophen does not cause autism.
There is no sound science because there is nobody that's ever looked into it. And if you try to publish it, you would lose all of your funding. See, these research institutes, they work on grants. Grants must be funded. But to get your grant funded, you have to do what they call in the sports world of playing ball. Contradicting them and saying, actually, this isn't true, is you doing the opposite of playing ball. And what's going to be the opposite of being funded? You're defunded.
The president also claims that ingredients in vaccines and the close timing of childhood vaccinations could also be contributing to rising autism cases. The FDA.
Oh, really? So we're not going to look at the correlation from when the vaccine schedule changed in the 80s and the spike in autism that matches the spike in how many injections are given to children at once or given at period. We're not going to, because they don't want to show the correlation and say correlation is called causation. If you don't get the fuck out of here, get the hell out of here. This is hilarious. And we all should know this about that. Remember SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome? Now there's something called AIDS, adult immediate death syndrome, or like something like adult death syndrome, because you got a lot of adults dropping dead all of a sudden, but they didn't get a wellness check and then they developed autism and passed away instantly afterwards. But they did something else when somebody gave a mandate so that they would keep their job. I wonder what that was. I don't know. Maybe it'll come to me in 75 years when they wanted the data release. In 75 years, it'll come to me. I can't think of it right now.
Commissioner standing by the White House's claims on Tylenol.
Acetaminophen has been given willy-nilly way too frequently without any discussion of the potential risks to balance out those discussions about the potential benefit.
But medical groups say that there have been dozens of large studies over the decades, and not one of them found that acetaminophen or vaccines cause autism.
There was a
Okay, well then with all that research, why can't you tell us what does cause autism? They can't. Because they know what causes it, and they know this stuff causes it. That's why I think all that research to just discover what doesn't cause autism. Well, you mean to tell me all that research and all that money into these studies, and you still don't know what does? It's just a mystery? Like it's just a mystery. It's unsolved mysteries. So in your discovery of what doesn't cause it, you didn't tell me you couldn't discover what does. So how do you know you're right? That's not the process of elimination. That's literally the opposite of the scientific method. If you're going to tell me what doesn't cause autism, you should be able to tell me what does cause it. But if you don't know what does cause it, you can't say what doesn't. That's not how the fuck science works. But guess who's not bought and paid for by the pharmaceutical companies? I only have a handful of sponsors. The rest of it, I pay for myself. I'm just literally a guy that talks on these shows. Yeah, I go in person and talk to people. I did this. It was like 50 people talking to me at the airport today. I was flying back in from the wasteland of California. It's actually looking better now. Trump put belt to ass in LA. It's looking way better. We're going to do a show about that in a little bit too. But I do these engagements in person. I talk to people. And in person, people seem to understand what's going on. But the talking heads, who these folks on these shows, their bread and butter is money from pharmaceutical companies. And that's how they live, just to convince you that poison is safe, that piss is rain. I don't have any of those obligations. I'll talk for free. I like talking. We can do that.
A study that was done in Sweden where they looked over a 25-year period at 2.5 million children to see whether or not Tylenol taken during pregnancy increased the risk of autism. And it didn't. And more importantly, they did it the right way.
Okay, well then Sweden, can you tell us what did you discover does cause autism? Swedes, you got 24 hours to reply.
Because they did the so-called sibling control. So they looked at mothers who took Tylenol during one pregnancy but not another. So you could compare those two pregnancies. And again, it found that there was no relationship between taking Tylenol and developing autism.
And if there was, how would you have disclosed that to the world? You're literally experimenting on pregnant women. So basically what they're saying is that they use pregnant women with 2 kids as a double-blind placebo. One parent takes the Tylenol, the other parent doesn't, and the kids turn out to be the same by when? 30, 40, 50. I don't think these studies were done long enough ago for you to even have enough fucking data to say either way. Were you looking to see the next day if there was any difference 2 days after they took the... If you don't go to hell, you 4-eyed freak, lying piece of dog shit, you sit up here and you say things to people that women who are none the wiser believe as fact, and they literally poison their kids. Have you been around a woman who had a child with autism? They blame themselves, and rightfully so. But sometimes they think, well, remember that time I had a beer? Remember those shots that time? Remember the yelling I was doing? Those things are environmental, and some of those are, yes, by substance, but you're actually taking drugs that have been proven to be able to cross that barrier, the placentia, causing brain swelling. Not saying this is the only cause of brain swelling. This is just one. I'm very grateful for Trump and RFK Jr. The reason I voted I was going to vote for Trump anyway, but I really went hard. If you go back through my videos, especially on Instagram and YouTube, because when he merged with RFK Jr., because it was between RFK Jr. and Trump, because RFK Jr. has been affected by the vaxes. He's vax injured himself. And he went on a journey to figure out what the fuck happened to him and who else has it been happening to. That means he's done the work. He's done the research. Other people have not. They're afraid to lose their money. He comes from money. I'm going to listen to him. I'm going to look at what he has to say. Because there's nobody shaming me for wanting to read things on my own like these other people are doing. This is insane. I don't think it's conservatives' job to keep trying to save you fuckers, man. Jump. Take 20 at once. And a shot of tequila. Don't do beer. Beer might, you really want to get Trump. Take that Don Julio.
Dr. Edith Bracho Sanchez is a New York pediatrician who is pregnant with her second child and shares that she's still taking the drug herself.
These are children. You're not going to know if they're autistic until they're in grade school. It could be 5th grade, 6th grade. You don't know until it becomes complicated for them to do advanced thinking. School is simple. But once they want you to read out loud or read in front of the class, and once you find out something's wrong with you, you're a little bit off, you're a little bit different, that's when you start finding out you're socially awkward. This is not the age. Now, don't get me wrong, these kids can become nonverbal, but that's typically after a wellness check. The effects can be more subtle when you're taking an oral pill and the brain swelling is gradual. There's not enough data, and the Swedes do not have enough time. This woman is literally experimenting on her fucking own kids. That's all this is. She's experimenting on her own children. Why are we accepting this? I think eventually we won't. Remember, we're only 7 months into the Trump presidency. Things are going to change. They have to.
Uncontrolled fevers in pregnancy pose an increased risk of miscarriage, of neural developmental defects. Knowing what
Okay, how did women survive pregnancy before acetaminophen was created? What did women do before? What did women do for fevers before pharmaceuticals were a thing? Humans survived long enough to even invent pharmaceuticals. What did women do before then? Did they all just die from headaches? No. So why are you making it seem that without these drugs, you're basically you're cooked? Literally, she said, you're fever, so you're cooked. These women, these people are disingenuous, and they're not as smart as they pretend to be. She's cute. She's pretty. She has her little shirt, kind of like a shirt like some kind of Vulcan or something. But mentally, she's just not. She's inept. Or this is how she feeds her family. Her husband could be a stay-at-home guy, and she needs the money. But whatever the case, not enough questions are being asked, and whether she likes it or not, her kids are guinea pigs. But it's not really a guinea pig because the pharmaceutical company, they did the research. They know what the data is. So does the CDC. And now RFK Jr., this is why they didn't want him to be confirmed, because he's going to have access to all of it eventually. Chef's kiss.
I know about the risks of Tylenol in pregnancy versus the risks of an uncontrolled fever, I would take Tylenol again in this pregnancy.
Her son will be 19 years old before she realizes something is wrong. There's so many men dealing with this. Remember, what did I say in the beginning of this video? It's always the boys who suffer because testosterone seems to amplify the effects of all these ingredients. And we don't even know what the ingredients are. We just know that's the only thing we know for sure. Testosterone amplifies them. That's why I said I don't think they even exist. I think what they're giving people in these injections, they're calling whatever, is just something that reacts to testosterone, and they kind of want to just see how different substances react with testosterone inside the male body. That's why you'll see two kids, a daughter and a son. The son will be in prison. The daughter will be a medical professional or work in a dentist. The daughter have a job. The daughter have a family. The son is in prison. Two kids, same parents, same background, grew up the same. One is fucked up mentally and can't survive in society. One is doing well in society. One has testosterone, one has estrogen. That's how you can tell the difference between the two.
Stock price of Tylenol fell dramatically because of all of this. And Tylenol is a very important drug for pregnant women because
it's a very important drug for pharmaceutical companies that make money off of drugs. You should not be treating conditions that Tylenol is not a treatment. It literally just turns off your pain inhibitor so you don't feel the pain. But the problem is still fucking there. Do you guys not understand how medicine works? It is not treatment. It is to mask it, to turn off the sensors so that you don't feel it. You have a toothache. You take ibuprofen, you take Tylenol. The pain goes away temporarily. Whatever's causing the toothache, whatever's causing the pain, it's still there. You're not treating it. I don't even know how much more clear I can be. But that's why I make these videos, because hopefully the way I speak and the way that I talk to people, maybe they'll be more receptive. I don't want to listen to Steve Osuma. Now, are you fucking Japanese? Are you African? What are you? Why are you saying, why is your name so retarded? Osu. I mean, maybe I shouldn't say retard. Or why is your name so backwards? Osunsami? Steve, get the fuck out of here. Just put Steve O. But I don't want to listen. Everybody doesn't want to listen to Steve O. His voice. Some people like my voice. Some people might want to hear his voice. But some people just want to listen to how I say things. And I'll say it for you. If that'll help you understand it so that you can stay away from it. Like for example, if Trump or RFK Jr. had a financial incentive, they wouldn't tell you what not to take. They would tell you what you should take, and they would get a cut off of it. They're not saying, "Hey, don't take Tylenol. Take these aspirin gel caps, $4.99." They'll tell you they're telling you don't take any of the shit. Don't take any of it unless you absolutely have to. And really, do you absolutely have to? They're just giving some wiggle room, but you really shouldn't. That's one thing I think we're going to hear about. I bet you there's 100 things that cause brain swelling that should not be in our diets, shouldn't be in the paint, shouldn't be in the products. And they're putting it there because they want us sick, because we're the only country in the world besides New Zealand that allowed you to advertise medications in commercials in the fucking country. Ridiculous. That's going to have to be reversed as well. All of it. We're going to get away from this. We have to. Well, those of us who are going to survive have to get away from this. But we're in the know now. For the rest of you that want to be in denial, go jump. Fuck off. We don't care. That's on you. Good luck. Do whatever you're going to do to yourself. We feel bad for your children. Hopefully they last long enough where they can stay away from it or get your wishes, and they can say no to the injections and no to all the drugs you want to give them. But I have a feeling we're going to see the overdose hotline pop up in our news feed. They just had a spike in people that died from taking too many Tylenol just to spite Trump. And guess what? When it happens, I'm going to do a story about it. Not to necessarily gloat, but just to say, hey, I used a little bit of foresight to see where this was going. You should too. Right Wing Rico, the single boyfriend, go ahead and like the video, subscribe. If you have any comments or you feel some type of way, go ahead and share your thoughts with me and opinions. If you own some gloves and you want to fight me about it, you're more than welcome as well. I do those too. Thank you, and I'll see you again shortly with the next video. It'll be somewhere in the bottom of the screen right here. Just click one of them. They're both going to be me talking about something that's pretty important. It's important to me, in my opinion, anyway. Thank you. Signing off. Cheers. See you guys.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.